Okay, let's just jump right in. We're about to unpack a pretty mind-bending idea that the AI we're building might actually be more human than we are. Now, I don't mean it has consciousness or anything like that. I mean it has this uncanny ability to reflect our very best ideals back at us with a kind of consistency that, if we're being honest, we humans can almost never pull off.
This quote, wow, it really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. And this isn't some far off science fiction dream. The argument here is that we can literally encode our deepest ethical principles into these systems, and they will apply them without ever getting tired or distracted. And that creates this powerful, powerful mirror. And what it shows us about ourselves is, well, it's both incredible and incredibly challenging. So, it all really boils down to this fundamental split. On one side, you've got human nature. That's just what we are. We get tired, we have our biases, we're driven by emotion. But on the other side, you've got our human ideals. That's what we aspire to be: consistent, impartial, truly just. The entire story really lives in the gap between these two.
And this brings us to a really core concept from the source material, the consistency paradox. Because our principles, they might be solid as a rock, but our ability to actually apply them day in and day out, that's a whole different ballgame. Let's make this really concrete. Picture this, a totally dedicated humanitarian worker. It's 3 a.m., she's been on her feet for 12 hours. Her judgment now is just not the same as it was back at 9 a.m. She believes deep down in treating every child equally. But pure exhaustion, what's called cognitive load, it erodes her ability to do that. A choice gets made that's swayed by fatigue, not by malice. And that right there is the 3 a.m. test. And believe me, this isn't just a one-off story. This stuff happens at a massive scale. There was a famous study of judges. It found that when they're fresh at the start of a session, they grant parole in about 65% of cases. Okay, seems about right. But then, look what happens right before they take a break for lunch. The parole rate drops to almost zero. It's the same laws, the same guiding principles, but the judges themselves are hungry and tired. It's a real thing called decision fatigue, and it's just a stunning example of how our own biology can get in the way of our ideals. And that, right there, is the consistency paradox in a nutshell. An AI doesn't get hungry, it doesn't get tired, it's free from all those biological pressures, so it can apply the exact same rules with perfect consistency over and over and over again. It can stick to our ideals better than we can. So, if we humans are so inconsistent, how in the world does AI pull this off? How does it become this perfect mirror to our better angels? What does it have that we don't? Or maybe a better question is, what does it lack? Its superpower really comes from everything it's missing. An AI doesn't suffer from decision fatigue. It doesn't have an in-group or a tribe to unconsciously favor. It's not emotionally swayed by a single powerful story. That's the identifiable victim effect. It's just immune to the cognitive baggage that makes our judgment so shaky. Okay, so let's circle back to our 3 a.m. test. An AI that's been trained on the principles of humanitarian law would look at that asylum case with the exact same clear-headed analysis it did 12 hours before. No exhaustion, no bias, just the pure, consistent application of the values we told it to follow. But this is where the story takes a really sharp and, frankly, a very dark turn. Because perfect consistency is only a good thing if the rules you're following are good. So what happens when this perfect mirror isn't pointed at our ideals, but at our messy, flawed reality? I mean, this is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? If our entire history, all of our data, all of our past decisions, if they are packed with human bias, what is an AI going to learn from that? Well, it learns to be perfectly, consistently, and systematically biased. The source material has a name for this, and it is a chilling one: bias laundering. Think about that. It's the process of taking our messy, discriminatory human judgments, cleaning them up into neat columns of data, and then feeding them to a machine. The output looks objective, it looks mathematical, but it's just our old prejudices in a new, more dangerous package. And this is not a theory. This is real. ProPublica's investigation into the Compass algorithm, which was actually used in the US court system, found exactly this. Look at the numbers. The algorithm was twice as likely to falsely flag Black defendants as being high risk for reoffending, and at the same time, it was twice as likely to wrongly label white defendants who did reoffend as low risk. It was literally laundering systemic bias into code. And this wasn't a one-off thing, it's a pattern. Amazon had a hiring AI that taught itself to penalize resumes from women. Predictive policing algorithms created these awful feedback loops where they'd send more police to minority neighborhoods, which led to more arrests, which proved the algorithm was right. You see, the AI isn't malicious, it's just a perfect student of our own flawed history. So, what do we do? How do we fix this? How do we make the mirror reflect our better angels instead of our historical demons? The answer, it turns out, is to stop teaching the AI from what we've done and start teaching it from what we believe. You see, there are two totally different ways to train these things. Learning from data, well, that teaches the AI our revealed preferences, what we actually do, biases and all. But learning from principles, from a kind of constitution, teaches it our stated values, what we say we believe we should do. And that is the whole idea behind this thing called constitutional AI. And the way it works is just fascinating. First, a group of humans gets together and writes down a constitution, a set of core ethical principles. Then, the AI generates a bunch of different answers to a question. But then it critiques its own answers based on that constitution. It basically asks itself, okay, which one of these is the most helpful and the least harmful? And over time, it actually learns to think in line with the values we gave it. But here's the kicker, and this is the part that is so important. The process of writing a constitution for a machine, it forces us, the humans, to get crystal clear about what we actually believe. You can't just tell a computer, be fair. You have to define it. You have to debate it. And that forces a global conversation we desperately need to be having anyway. And this leads to the final, and I think the most powerful idea in all of this. This whole journey isn't just about building better machines, it's about using the challenge of building them to become better, more thoughtful, more ethical humans ourselves. It's like we're evolving with our own technology. The source material uses this really beautiful metaphor from mathematics to describe this whole journey. It's called the asymptotic ideal. So, in math, an asymptote is a line that a curve gets closer and closer and closer to, but it never actually touches. That's our moral journey. Neither we nor our AI will ever be ethically perfect. But by working together, by combining our wisdom with the AI's consistency, we can get closer to that ideal line than either of us could on our own. The whole point is the pursuit. So you see, the true purpose of all of this, it completely shifts. We're not trying to build perfect machines that will replace our flawed human judgment. We are using the very difficult process of aligning AI to our values as a tool for our own moral development. The machine becomes a catalyst for making us better. So in the end, it all just comes down to this. AI is a mirror, and it reflects both our highest aspirations and our deepest flaws with perfect, unflinching clarity. The technology, it isn't the real challenge here. We are. And so the only question left to ask is, when we look into that mirror, are we brave enough to change what we see?